we were on a longer break earlier, so this time there is no breaks, and we are jumping right into the next game and next team, which is Coregames. And before we do that, remember all the links are here and in the panels below. You can click on them and go wherever you want to go using those panels. And yeah, hashtag ProtoPlay for socials. So if you are advertising the stream or speaking about your games or just talking about ProtoPlay, use the hashtag so we can check out your content later on. Okay, without further ado, let's get on with Coregames. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Awesome. Well, let's get the interview started. How are you today? Could you tell us about yourself and your team, and just touch on the overall concept of the game a little?
Of course. So I'm Anna. I'm the environment artist for Coregames, and the game that you're seeing now is Interstice, which is a fast-paced single-player action game which centers around gravity distorting movement mechanics. It's set in an Escher-inspired sci-fi dreamscape and challenges the player to navigate the environment fighting off enemies. For Transfuser, we just did quite a simple demo to demonstrate these core mechanics of gravity and sort of a proof of concept for the style that we want to create.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. What sort of genre would you say your game is could be tied into, or are you creating sort of like a new thing?
It is quite hard to define, but I would describe it as a sci-fi action kind of platformer, but it also kind of has long-term goals for how it might evolve in the future, because we've also had we had a really talented narrative designer working with us, Benjamin, and we have a long-term plan of sort of evolving it into more of a roguelite style game where you can do multiple runs and uncover more of the story as you go.
I see. That's awesome. Sounds like it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
What was your? I'm not sure you mentioned at the very start, but what was your inspiration to start this project? What was the inspiration for the project actually?
So we started the game from scratch. So all of this was done in about 10-ish weeks. We had to do all the planning at the beginning of Transfuser. And what inspired it was our lead programmer and one of our designers took part in the game jam earlier in the year, Jam Fuser, and they created a game called Freefall. And that's just a very ambient game where you're just continuously falling through.
Yeah. I just wanted
Do you
to
remember
say
it?
I actually remember it because I was playing it on the. We actually had it live streamed, and I actually remember that game. And believe me or not, when I had a look at your game that you're presenting on here, I actually remembered the one from John Fuser because I compared the art styles a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly where the art styles come from. We wanted to build on that sort of abstract, dreamy feeling, but with a lot more gameplay pushed in, so that's what we have now.
I see. Awesome. Yeah, I could definitely. Yeah, it makes sense now. Yeah, I could definitely see that. What are you most proud of from the project, from what you managed to achieve?
I mean, I'm definitely proud that all of us were able to come together in such a short time frame to create something. We had quite a large team, so we had 9 people total, so it was a lot of people to sort of organize and, set this up with. And I'd say I'm most proud of finishing the game or finishing the demo to start with, but also I think the characters that our artist B made really make us stand out. The animations are like super clean and really makes the game what it is.
I was just having a look on the screen. There was an enemy. I just wanted to compliment on that. That it's very well stylized. The enemy looks cool. Let's just say.
Yeah, we were super lucky to have our own concept artist, which really helped sort of just get the style identity of the game. So that was really fun to actually work with a concept artist and have someone else kind of work on the visual development of the game, and then us as 3D artists can just take that and do what we could to bring it to life.
I see. So the name of the game is Interstice, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any background behind the name of the game, or was that just a name thrown around?
To be honest with you, we had so many different ideas for the game. We had this our like design document, and we just shoved in so many name ideas, and we just sort of stuck with Instice just because it made things easier. But we also had other names, which we could still change in the future when we're further into development. So we had things like Gravidungeon because we were because of the sort of like dungeon run style gameplay that it might develop into, and just other sort of similar kind of names that sort of hone in on those mechanics, so gravity based mechanics.
Yeah, about that, could you touch a bit more on that? Because I think it's something that might not be apparent when you look at the game first. Yeah, but as we are seeing now, there is the idea of sort of switching the gravity as you are traveling through the level. So could you talk a bit about that mechanic and how player might be able to use it as they are playing the game?
Yeah, so the main ways of navigating around the map is sort of dashing, and then you can toggle on and off whether you're sticking to a surface. So you can see a sort of circle symbol below the player when they're sort of stuck to the ground.
Yeah.
And the player can sort of use this in a puzzling way to kind of get around places faster. They might want to completely skip sections, speed run, avoid enemies or get to them faster. So it's kind of up to the player to kind of decide how they might traverse the level.
I see. That's cool. Is there anything you would want to change about your game at the moment, or even add onto? Because I think Shotgun Mango team, one of the team members who we just had, made a very good point that all of the teams have done an amazing job, absolutely getting together and finishing all of these projects. So perhaps if you were to add something or improve on something, what would it be for your project?
Yeah, so this is very much a demo that kind of demonstrates the core movement and briefly the combat. So moving forward, we do have a plan to really get the narrative integrated with the game, and just have it be more cohesive as a sort of journey that the player goes on.
I see. You were mentioning sort of tapping into almost like a roguelike genre with this concept of yours.
Yes.
So could you expand on that? Because I'm interested to hear how you would actually implement that into your current level design. And is your current level design gonna influence that gameplay? How is it gonna influence it? I'm just really interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so everything we're looking at has a meaning behind, has a story. So this character that we're looking at now, their name is Veil Piercer, and this whole sort of environment is inspired by computers and AI, and we really wanted to create a very abstract sort of situation where you as a player don't actually understand where you are in the beginning, and that's why we want to sort of incorporate this roguelike situation where you have to keep running, dying, and waking up again to sort of get through the storyline and understand who you are, why you're being attacked by these stunning robots. And yeah, that's the sort of gameplay cycle that we want to get towards.
It sounds like you would be pushing the sort of impact of the lore a bit as well, with the idea of player not knowing what's really happening, and I guess they would have the opportunity to find out through playing the game, right?
Yeah, so our narrative designer, Benjamin, we had quite a short amount of time, but he just completely wrote a whole story. The world slash narrator is called The Phenomenon. So it's a very mysterious world, but he's really gone hard on writing storylines and just backstory for the situation and the game world.
I see. Awesome. Um, did your development change since you became part of Transfuser and decided to participate in ProtoPlay? Did that have like the impact on your project, or has your project begun prior to taking part and you just stick to your scope? How did that go for you?
So we did have a project that all of us were originally part of when we signed up to Transfuser. But when the competition started, we had to scrap that and start something new. So it was a really sort of educational experience in a way to have to start at the beginning of the development cycle, go through pre-production, organize our milestones, and find something for all of us to do, because we were quite a big team to start with, and we wanted everybody to still have a job and something to contribute. So it was really like a huge learning experience for us.
I see. I think you've done great.
Thank
It's
you.
really nice to see how far game developers can get when they come together and just work hard.
Yeah.
It's quite awesome. Very encouraging for anyone out there who's looking to maybe start development on their game or continue it as well. Yeah, great job. Did you have any influence from the community itself? Maybe whether it's Transfuser and some networking in there, or outside of Transfuser and ProtoPlay, any influences on the development by the community, or how did that go for you?
We had our facilitator, which all of our teams have, who was really useful for sort of helping us with this development and giving us feedback. Especially with like level design and advising us on sort of how to organize ourselves, because when he did the competition a couple of years ago, they also sort of changed their idea during development, so it was sort of a perfect match that we both had that experience and could relate to each other in that sense. And we had some really useful feedback during the pitch sessions halfway through, so we had feedback about combat and sort of how we should define ourselves, because at the time it was quite hard kind of describing the genre of the game, because there's sort of influences from roguelikes, parkour games, action third-person shooters. It was really hard to define ourselves, but I think we've sort of worked it out now.
Yeah. Now the game is bringing a lot of. It sort of almost puts like a big question mark over the player, because it's not something they are used to. But again, that almost creates like the sense of urgency of trying to discover what you can really do in the game, which I think could be beneficial for your game. Yeah.
Because our hope is that it can sort of attract fans of a lot of different things, like platformers, puzzling games. So hopefully the market is quite wide for us.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, certainly, definitely. Speaking of the market, what is your target market then?
So Coregames as a company, we've already released one game before, which is Heptagon. It's a 2D sort of abstract rhythm game. So this is our first 3D game, but I think we can still target similar players because they're quite dedicated indie fans who sort of like to trawl the depths of Steam and find unique things to play. So we definitely sort of target dedicated gamers who enjoy a lot of different genres.
I see. Awesome. So we sort of discussed the influence of the community on your development. So did you have a lot of feedback from the players itself, or could you just
Our
touch on
next
that?
stage is definitely getting more player feedback. We wanted to wait until the sort of launch and being able to show this publicly
I
today.
see. Well, here we go, guys.
Yeah, this is definitely our debut today, and hopefully we can move on to getting some player feedback before developing the next stage of the game, which would be integrating more of the narrative and general gameplay.
Yeah, the game has this mysterious feel to it, which is very intriguing. So you definitely got that going on.
Yeah, we went hard on the fog to give it that mysterious vibe.
Yeah. Also, I think the gravity, I actually found it unexpected as I was sort of going through as we were all watching the gameplay footage. I didn't expect the gravity to be a thing, to be honest, from initial
Yeah,
gameplay. So,
yeah, I think
yeah.
most people kind of find it surprising to realize that this is actually a game about sort of jumping off the edges of things
Mhm.
and gravity.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. It's fresh, you know. It's new to the to the game dev world, and I would definitely be
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you.
absolutely. I guess you. I would definitely be looking forward to seeing how it develops into the roguelike. That would be really exciting to see. Yeah, guys, I've posted the link in the chat. There is the Twitter of the Core Games. Check them out. I believe you'll have the link to the game through your Twitter.
I'll have to check that, but people should follow us and keep an eye out so there's an opportunity for them to play it in the future.
Yeah, we are seeing much more of an open space in the gameplay right now. Could you tell us a bit about the difference in these levels and why you've decided to make that design choice when designing the levels?
So this area that we're seeing now is a very just linear kind of path because this is what we intended to be the tutorial, sort of introduce gravity and the types of structures that would feature in the rest of the game. So this is when we sort of introduce the sort of very start of the narrative. You, as the robot veil piercer, are spoken to by an unknown voice, and you need to get to the end of the tutorial to really proceed and find out what's going on.
I see. Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool. Would you be looking to? How is the combat like for the player? We haven't discussed it.
Yeah, so there's a few styles you can go for. You can either just kind of avoid the turrets as best you can, but we've programmed the AI so they can sort of detect you from quite far away.
I see.
Or you can just whip out your gun and just try and get them all. But we do have the next enemy we're about to introduce is actually a flying turret, so it's going to get a lot harder to kind of dodge and weave around all of the lasers.
It will,
So
yeah, it will give player the incentive to move around to the level, right, and utilize the gravity.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's when you sort of see a more third-person shooter style, is when you've got all these robots coming for you.
So does the player have a choice of weapons, or are we limited to one weapon? Could you touch on that?
At this stage, they just have their built-in like gunner arm,
I see.
but because we do want to sort of attract people who are fans of games like Risk of Rain 2 and similar, we definitely want to have more variety in the future to kind of change up how the game might be when you're fighting these enemies.
I see. I see. That's cool. Very nice. We had a very good question in the chat. How do you guide a new player to the destination? So I suppose, how does the player know where to go in this maze of cubes, really?
So we have enemies placed that the player should want to kind of seek out and fight, and then these enemies will then guide the player to a portal, and this is kind of linking to the sort of roguelite theme of going through the portal and the player will also keep sort of dying but being revived by the phenomenon sort of AI, which is the world that they're inside. So they kind of, some levels will be a bit more linear and some levels will be a bit more crazy, and they have to work a lot harder to kind of get to these end portals and proceed.
I see, I see. Yeah, plenty of potential in your project. I'm really happy to see many teams actually taking extremely well-defined genres and actually putting some twists onto them, which I'm really intrigued to see and happy to see really as a player as well, you know.
Yeah, some great games this year.
Um, what's the ambition for your team? So that's Coregames, post Transfuser, post ProtoPlay. What would you like to do with this project and your team really? What's your plan?
Yeah, so we're hoping to get a release early next year. So next month, October, that's when we're going to start on iterate on the features that we already have. And then sort of winter time, that's where we want to start adding more content and really
I see.
adding in that narrative to then hopefully release around February, March time.
Ooh, there we go. Some dates. I love I love when teams give me some months, some date because it's always something to look forward to, you know.
Yeah, so
Uh,
that's the plan.
awesome. Yeah, guys, make sure to follow Core Games on Twitter to hear about their game and what they're planning to do. I think we're gonna be shortly finishing up the interview. Is there something else you wanna touch on, discuss? I mean, the stage is yours, really.
I guess I just want to shout out all of our team members. There's quite a few of us, but so we've got Robbie, our lead programmer, and then our other programs are Ollie and Adrian. There's me, the environment artist, B. Cottle, our character artist, Louis Marion, our concept artist, Hugh Holbeck, who did some amazing music for this game. He was our sound designer, and then of course Benjamin, our narrative designer, who wrote a really detailed story in such a short time that we want to include in the future.
I see. Awesome. There you go, guys. Shout out to all the devs and everyone who contributed to the project. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been amazing to check out your project and get some very cool insights from you about the game. So I really appreciate that, and I wish you best of luck with your project and with Core Games. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, and we're gonna go on a really short break, just around 3 to 5 minutes, and we're gonna be right back with our next team, which is Chimera Tales. Exciting to see what they got in store for us. Stay tuned, back very, very soon.